Here we go. It's Firstkiller versus Diaz in the road to 100,000 subscribers invitational. That's right. It is a tournament titled to remind you to subscribe to the YouTube and get us ever closer. I have the counter up there in the top. That is going to be fairly old by the time these videos all go up. So hopefully we're much higher than just 90,651. Hopefully we haven't gone down. For now, we've been rising up like crazy. It's been a huge surge, so I appreciate everybody. But if you haven't watched this tournament, maybe you don't know what's going on. It's a pool play between Diaz, Firstkiller, Jack, and Chronic, of which we'll seed a gauntlet that dishes out the $1,500 prize pool. But the gauntlet won't consist just of the 4 players in pool play. It will also consist of somebody who makes it through a closed qualifier that'll be played out tomorrow to give another top ones player a chance at the top dogs in order to take their portion of the prize pool. We just watched Diaz versus Jack, and I definitely recommend checking out that series because it's yet another banger. There's been a lot of good matches, and that was kind of the idea behind the tournament. Get the players up at the top of ones right now, get them playing against each other as much as possible should lead to a lot of good games. And right now, Diaz is trying to make this game not as interesting. Up 3-0 within 45 seconds. But Firstkiller will likely grab a foothold before too long. Firstkiller off the ceiling. Seemed like he was almost faking like he's going to go to the ground because I thought for sure that was his only option there. He does decide to use the flip, and Diaz is also unique as well. You know, we talked about this just because I never really thought about it this way. But we did have the Masked Duelist recently, the hidden tournament that had players playing under pseudonyms. And one thing that Diaz does that maybe could have helped reveal is he goes really deep underneath the ball on his resets, or after his resets, and then uses the flip at the tail end of his car, and it ends up getting a ton of extra height. It's a very vertical movement to make defenders miss. Firstkiller had a weird landing there. I don't know if he was continuing to try and dash. I'd have to go back further. He's just floating off the wall. Firstkiller on the board, able to play the kickoff to his advantage. Diaz thought he was controlling it as he took it back to his corner. Yeah, we've been having some weird internet issues, some server dropout issues. And I think maybe not all of it is on my end. Obviously, I'm not about to sit here and defend my internet service provider to the death. Cox has had some issues in the past, but we did just switch Twitch servers right away after it died last time, or this most recent time, and it came back instantly after I switched it, which makes me wonder a little bit whether or not it's been on Twitch's end for some of this all along. Hopefully you guys are fully back in case you did drop off there for a moment. Firstkiller, the reset was going to have to work as a fake because he did not get very much movement on it, but it didn't. Diaz will make it 6-1. It is not fiber. Yeah, I found out during the EU tournament that apparently all of chat is fiber. But the thing about the internet is sometimes it drops out, and I'll disconnect from the games too, which means we lose download. I guess it's possible I could only be losing upload, and the stream could struggle. But the past couple times when it's been fully dying like it just did, everything else about my internet seems perfectly fine. It's just the streaming. I'm still getting info from the game. I'm still getting info from everything, which makes me wonder, could it be just Twitch's fault? Oftentimes when I see the drops on my end, it usually means it's not Twitch's fault. Nice no look from Firstkiller, because he's still feeling a bit confident here as he's down 5, but now down 4. Diaz gonna make it 7-2, playing out of his own back corner. Why is he little Firstkiller is a good question. There was a time when my whole friends list turned into little blank with the player name, and I couldn't tell you why. I'd love to pretend like I'm young and hip with the kids. Something tells me there's an explanation that I don't know, that chat probably does know. Diaz not able to find anything out of the corner this time, but Firstkiller needs a big run, and that could be the beginning of it. Firstkiller's few goals have seemed like his offense is still there. This time, sending it into the ceiling and backboard before the double. He had a kickoff goal, but also the no-look double to get his 3 goals. Right now, it's a bit too late for anything but kickoff goals, so I'm sure he's hoping for a few more. This kickoff is not favorable, though. Diaz gets possession and knows that Firstkiller is in a position where he has to dive. So yeah, Firstkiller basically says, I'll dive now. If it doesn't connect, then I'll just forfeit. But if it does connect, it's better than more time getting off the clock. Ultimately, Firstkiller does call next, and Diaz takes a 1-0 lead. Game number 2. Firstkiller and Diaz. Diaz looking to start the aerial attack in game number 2. Firstkiller pre-jumped it, and it was enough to convince Diaz to take it away. And then Firstkiller counterattacked it. Smooth 1-2 from Firstkiller on the wave dash catch to power shot. Firstkiller ceiling pinch. Seemed like that's what he was going for. Obviously, didn't find the power and missed wide. Now Diaz allowed to go the full distance to the field, and even though Firstkiller was around, in case the flick was a fake, he still ended up hitting it right back into Diaz, and Diaz will dunk it in for a goal. Pretty strong read from Firstkiller. After he jumped early, it seemed like he knew Diaz was going to go back down, so he didn't even really plan for a flick. He just started to prep with a good low challenge, but couldn't get it around Diaz. Firstkiller on no boost. Found himself underneath the ball by far too much. Or really, I guess, because kind of losing it. Jumped it away from his control. Diaz, his favorite position to work from. A dribble all the way from his back wall at ceiling height. Has a reset and heard the flip. So uses it right away, or heard the jump, I should say, as Firstkiller came to challenge. And Diaz will do this all day. If you want to shadow and try and defend his full field dribble, he says, be my guest. Players usually have to do the best they can to not allow Diaz to get into the air. Here he is again in the reset around midfield. And one of those patented late flips that Diaz likes to use, deep underneath the ball. Firstkiller still has that read, and he's going to attack in the air himself. Defense prevailing on the past 2 attempts. Diaz right back into the air, and I tell you what, the people who think air dribble bumps are cringe are sitting there clapping at their desks, excited to see air dribble after air dribble where players just try and reset and get around each other. But it will be a ground goal that goes in. So a big exhale from those who want to see essentially freestyle 1v1 at all times. Firstkiller going to pass to himself. He wants to show you freestyle 1v1. And oh my goodness, there it is. Sent this one too high over the crossbar, but then the reset pop, instant flip as he collected the ball, and there was no boost left to do anything but that. And he got a shot that would surprise anybody in net. (3-3). Firstkiller again when I bring up the fans who hate the cringe, they certainly have to be big fans of Firstkiller right now. So far, other than a couple kickoff goals, just about every goal of his has been spectacular. Firstkiller will just play into the pre-jump. Oftentimes, when attackers see that early of a pre-jump, they bail out, but Firstkiller saw his way to get around. And we'll tie up the game. Should we worry about the Rocket League Pro community now that Shift lost a sponsor? I don't think... Oh my goodness. 1 second. Let Diaz pop off here for a little bit. He's been faking this flick more often than not, but just wants to throw a reminder in that he can hit it. And it's not like Firstkiller was even necessarily prepping for the low shot. He seemed ready. Diaz still hit it. I think that, you know, Oxygen going under is just one of another many signs of like esports orgs that have gone under. So sure, it is another sign, but it shouldn't be specifically more worrisome than any other org who has dropped out or had to leave. It just so happens this org was also sponsoring a tournament that was very prominent in our space. Diaz full distance from the back wall, and a catch actually puts it directly into Firstkiller. He needed to kill some of that bounce. If he had glued it to the ground on the catch, it would have been a goal. Ooh, decided he couldn't get the quick follow-up angle, but will have the third attempt to extend the lead back to 2. My understanding is esports kind of got ballooned up. Maybe, you know, I don't know if bubble is the right word, but a lot of cheap money flooded the system, as I understand it. So everybody overextended on, you know, the thought of in the future it'll pay off. And now we're in a world in which the world is saying pay up right now or or else. So everyone is going, never mind, let's try again. But it just means we will rebuild smarter. You know, the fans of the game and the fans of esports, they're not like leaving. That's not why it's happening, I don't think. It's just the model was quite poor from the beginning, and that has been revealed. And so now it's time to start again. At least that's my hopeful insight on it. Firstkiller, pretty nasty own goal. Could have been cooler if he just done it himself, but he did let Diaz finish it. What's your take on Red Delicious apples? I don't eat a ton of apples. Aren't Red Delicious like awful? Aren't they the worst ones? Thought that was known. Diaz with a minute left to go and a 2-goal lead. Gonna pass to himself off the ceiling, and Firstkiller will deny it. But that was, you know, could be argued as the tame version of a Diaz aerial attack. One that maybe he felt was safer with a lead in the winding moments, but Firstkiller still shows that just about nothing in the air that finishes that soft is safe. You have to get a really good attack. One that gets the defense panicking or just straight up missing. Anything else, and you could be in trouble. Firstkiller, nice pop. What a read. Recognizing that what this situation called for was just a little chip underneath the ball to get the height right over the top of Diaz and into net, and 7-7. Firstkiller trying not to have to do all his work later. What a double. A psycho to clear the ball away, although it's not necessarily the best situation for his fake kickoff because now he has to defend against Diaz in Diaz's favorite position. This one, though, is saved. We watched it from Firstkiller's perspective this time, and the counterattack actually should be free. So Diaz living and dying by the aerial right now, as a couple different counterattack goals for Firstkiller have now given him the lead. 10 seconds for Diaz to work with. He is staying on the ball with a pad's worth of boost. And now he should be able to reset in the corner. That one is going to have a tough time staying in the air. So Firstkiller will tie up the series. A 1-goal win. Steals it late, though, in order to tie it up. Game number 3. Firstkiller and Diaz. Firstkiller, wow, is not going to flick to open up the scoring. Instead, Diaz will recover to make the save. Firstkiller does bump him off the back corner boost, so he is not out of the woods yet, and a pretty greedy finish attempt from Firstkiller. An all-in type play that didn't have the angle. The only reason it wasn't all-in is because Diaz waited out for this boost to spawn for far too long and allowed Firstkiller back in. And then Firstkiller converts. Yeah, I don't know if we're going to get my take on every single food item that chat is interested in today. Zero boost for both players. Firstkiller first to reset, so Diaz going to have to back off. Firstkiller going to take it to the left corner. Saw Diaz maybe. Oh my goodness, Firstkiller, what a shot. It's quite unique, but Diaz does get the read defensively. There was really only 2 touches for Firstkiller. One to slam it into the ceiling, and then another on the reset to backflip it towards net, but that should not make it any less impressive. If not, makes it more impressive, but Diaz reading Firstkiller playing on the side wall. So he just makes sure to get a heavy touch to get it out ahead of him, and then follow-up is trivial. Diaz wants to pop that ball straight up. Wants to get a clean beat there. If Firstkiller gets almost anything on it, then it's a goal for Firstkiller, and he did. Diaz gonna tie it up with a kickoff goal. Interesting. That was a position that Firstkiller could air dribble from if he wanted to. Instead, he went for that wave dash that did not work out. Floated, basically wheeling across the map. Diaz gonna reset into 50. Position that it felt like he could bump if he maybe wanted to, but Diaz not one to go to bumps very often. Double reset, make it triple. But the finish is lackluster. Diaz getting underneath the ball to clear it away. Firstkiller less willing than his opponent is to try a dribble from the back wall. Diaz is in a tough spot here now with 0. Firstkiller pre-flip flick. Didn't go as initially planned. Still not in a bad spot if he can fight Diaz off the midfield and the back. Firstkiller hook shot, great timing, good read from Firstkiller. He sees Diaz moving in and out of the net, preparing for a high save. He wants Diaz to be recovering at a more awkward time. He doesn't want Diaz to be allowed to make this save at supersonic like he's trying to. So instead of taking the initial shot, just hook shot it at the back wall. And even if it doesn't end up, you know, catching Diaz going in and out of the net, because Diaz may or may not have been doing that, I think, when Firstkiller was setting it up. What it would do is it just forces Diaz off of supersonic, gonna make him slow down and break in net, and then try and beat him on the follow-up. Much more likely to have success. In this case, he was successful because Diaz was in and out of the net and out of position. Firstkiller gonna get the ball ka-chowed off the top of his car as Diaz steals the corner boost. Diaz just barely not able to counter from his back wall. Firstkiller, confident challenge. Absolutely no boost to his name. Unafraid to get up to ceiling height and still flip out towards the ball. Something that could spell disaster if he doesn't make the right contact. Now he's zap dashing himself out. Diaz can see that coming. So just like Firstkiller did to him, he's not going to shoot on his first attempts. He's just going to pop the ball up. And he'll score in the follow-up. Diaz with a kickoff win. Going to the top left to get Firstkiller to have to use his boost to make a save, but possession lost and recovered from before Firstkiller really got a clean setup. And I think Firstkiller might have turned last second to make sure that that was not just him getting demoed, but a double demo. And now, as he sees Diaz going to the ceiling, he just immediately shoots from midfield as a way to try and beat that. Diaz didn't full commit to the ceiling challenge, though, so he stays around. Goal line 50. Firstkiller escapes, and in fact, will tie it up with 30 seconds left to go. Firstkiller was looking like he could be in trouble. Diaz never been one to back down from his normal offensive style, regardless of what the score is. And now might be having to deal with a game. Oh, Firstkiller, he knew he had a chance. If he had probably a perfect sequence of zap dashes to get the power, he maybe could have gotten the shot. But the missed zap dash will get him punished. He creeps out to the midfield boost, and in the process, Diaz able to steal away the possession and bump Firstkiller as he gets the 5th goal. This kickoff greatly in his favor. Sure, Firstkiller may be able to stop it now, but he needs to get a position that he can score from in a few seconds. The zap dash out to the midfield. I don't hate it here. You need to have boost to win games late, so he goes for boost, but doesn't work out. Oftentimes, you defend, you try and steal the ball away, win a possession. That can work out with a bit more time, but with no time, you have to have something in the tank almost always to make magic happen on 0 seconds. And he wants to go next. Which we know, Diaz just needs to let the ball hit the ground. I don't know what you want me to do. But game number 3 gonna go to Diaz. Game number 4. A close one. Down to the wire, but Diaz will take the lead. And Firstkiller will take the lead in game number 4. In all of histories, which series that you hosted did you enjoy the most? Chat's probably heard me answer this a few times. I would say Daniel versus Khaled during the initial Daniel run. Firstkiller, oh my goodness. He says stop talking about the history and start watching what I'm doing now. A pass into the ceiling directly into his car. It's too much. It's too much for Firstkiller. You could watch it 1,000 times and it would still seem impossible. The control that Firstkiller has on the ball. Diaz gonna get his goal quickly after. Oh, but yeah, anyways, as I was saying, Daniel Khaled, the first time around, I don't know if I've had it more than once, but when Daniel was on his big win streak, and then actually, I think it was an apparently Jack Firstkiller game, the Fall 5K Grand Final where Jack won his first ones tournaments. That one felt like a special moment and a good stream that day. Stop talking history, start talking firstery. The most viewers that I've ever watched a match is Zen versus Daniel. Can you believe that? It's almost like streamers out there clickbait that and lie just to get people more excited about it. But I don't think that was necessarily the best match ever. That one was in Ranked Royale. Diaz, the length of the field. Diaz, hook shot, crossbar, and out. And he actually did a great save for Firstkiller. Those are the kind of saves off the post that players are trying to greet out nowadays. Diaz will accidentally hook Firstkiller up with it. You remember watching Mo versus Daniel? Yeah, Mo was on track to being a pretty impressive young prodigy until one day in the middle of a tournament, he was to never play again. I think he did end up logging in like years later. Still plays on occasion. But a pretty wild, clean cut from the North American Mo. From playing well, showing great promise, getting a ton of big wins, to, hey, I'm not going to make the tournament match, and I'm literally never going to play the game again. Okay, all right. That was the story of Mo. Oh, what a shot. Firstkiller, known to just boom the ball with perfection. Finding opportunities to score with just a strong hit. More so than anybody else. Firstkiller especially seems to like these passes off the ceiling and onto his car. This time, the ceiling pass didn't go into his car. But we've seen him do it twice now, where he flips it at maximum power in order to double it off the ceiling into a reset. Something that nobody else is even trying to do. If he snipes this one, see, this is what I'm talking about! This is what I'm talking about with Firstkiller. This is a Firstkiller special. He just has the ball in open field, and he just gets the perfectly powered and placed touch across the entire map to go posting in. I mean, this is what people talk about when they're saying the most mechanical players. You know, a lot of people will say the most mechanical player is someone who just gets a million resets over and over and, you know, essentially freestyles. Firstkiller is everyone's counterexample when it comes to just utility mechanics. Just banging the ball as hard as possible into the right spot. Doesn't matter what you do before that. It's all worth the same amount. One goal. Diaz trying to use a reset to punish Firstkiller as he falls to the ground after the pre-jump. Firstkiller got the first save, but not the next. Diaz. Shots lackluster. Gonna result in the Firstkiller goal. Is this road to 100,000 subscriber tournament blessed? We had some sweeps early on, but all of a sudden, every single match seems like it's going to be down to the wire. It's a minute 20 and a 2-goal lead for Firstkiller, so certainly not a game he's secured yet, but on the verge of giving us another consecutive Game 5/Game 7. Does Gino still play Rocket League? I think so. At least a little bit. I don't think he plays as much as he maybe used to. Diaz to tie the game with a minute left to go. No, wait. Wave that shot. Gets denied by Firstkiller. Oh, and the chain dash to get a demo on 0 boost. That could have been a really tough spot. But the resourcefulness to use the dashes to get a demo. And now all of a sudden, the fact he's out of boost doesn't matter. The whole field is his. And he's going to flick for a late possession. That time the chain dash or the wall dash did not get him to the boost in time. And this time, Diaz sneaks it underneath him. Firstkiller has been impeccable in defense, reading where Diaz is going to go with almost every shot. This one, he just goes a little bit over the top of. We got ourselves a tie game with 40 seconds. Diaz back into his own half. Firstkiller has the choice there in that position to try and stay aggressive on 0 boost. Because the ball is headed into the orange half, Diaz is going to have a tough time collecting it. You can be a pest there, despite being basically 100-0 disadvantaged in boost. Your other option is to retreat back into your corner and say, I am good enough to defend against you, even when you have a favorable possession. And so far, Firstkiller has been right about that, but it's tough. It's tough. Great save after great save. You need more than that. You need to end the possession. You have to clear the ball out. And Diaz did a great job keeping Firstkiller pinned back. And now, with 9 seconds left to go, we might have the first series in a while to not go the distance. Firstkiller will tie it. Listen, it's a gift, okay? Some people say it's a curse, but it's a gift. I wanted it to go to 7-7. So I mentioned that maybe Diaz was going to win. And listen, this is when it'd be a curse. Some say it's a gift, some say it's a curse. Maybe I tried a little bit too much. And now it will be back to a Diaz lead. Diaz, interesting kickoff. He's just going high on the ball to make sure it stays on the ground. Diaz is going to take the win in 4. That's it for him today. Firstkiller's got another one, this time against Chronic.